Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. What we're about to discuss is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing NFL storylines of the offseason, especially for Steelers fans. It's about the potential moves that could redefine the franchise's future at the quarterback position. And believe me, it's not just speculation. There's real substance behind these rumors and expert opinions. We've seen so many twists in recent years, but this one might take the cake when it comes to reshaping team strategies and division dynamics. And no, I'm not talking about just waiting for the next draft or relying on backup quarterbacks. We're talking about serious, potentially blockbuster moves that could send shockwaves through the AFC North. To set the stage, let's rewind a bit. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired after the 2021 season, the Steelers have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride at quarterback. They've tried to find stability, they've tried to develop young talent, but nothing quite clicked in the way Steelers fans hoped. Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph have all had their moments, but none of them have really established themselves as that long-term franchise quarterback that Pittsburgh desperately needs to compete at the highest level again. With the AFC North being as competitive as ever, teams like Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Cleveland all beefing up their rosters, the Steelers can't afford to keep playing the waiting game forever. This offseason, the Steelers made a move that surprised many, bringing in veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Yes, Rodgers is officially a Steeler now, and while it's a big step up from the uncertainty of the past couple of seasons, let's be honest, this is more of a temporary fix than a long-term solution. Rodgers, who's 39 now, is entering what many see as his final chapter in the NFL. His presence gives Pittsburgh a chance to contend in 2024, but the future beyond that remains murky. The Steelers are still in that cycle of trying to figure out who will be their guy after Rodgers departs, which could very well be as soon as the 2025 or 2026 season. But here's where it gets really interesting. According to some NFL analysts and insiders, there's an intriguing possibility on the horizon, one that might seem outlandish at first, but actually makes a lot of sense when you look deeper. We're talking about the potential for the Steelers to trade for Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Yes, Richardson, the young and raw talent who was the 4th overall pick in the 2023 draft, is suddenly being discussed as a potential target not just for the Colts, but for the Steelers as well. And no, this isn't just some idle speculation. It's coming from reputable sources like ESPN's Kevin Clark, who recently made some bold predictions during NFL Live. Clark didn't hold back when he said that Richardson might be destined to be in the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition come 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would the Steelers go after Richardson when they already have Kenny Pickett, a young quarterback who's shown flashes of promise? That's a fair question. But the truth is, Richardson's profile is one that has fans and analysts buzzing. He's an athletic marvel, a guy with incredible size, speed, and arm talent. When you watch him play, you see flashes of the elite ceiling he could reach. However, Richardson is still very much a project, still developing his game, and playing on a rookie contract that's relatively cheap compared to veteran deals. The Colts, on the other hand, are in a tricky spot. They drafted Richardson with high hopes, but they're also in a win-now mode with veteran Daniel Jones, who they brought in to provide stability. The thought from some NFL insiders is that Indianapolis might be willing to part ways with Richardson sooner rather than later, especially if they feel Daniel Jones can lead them to playoff success. The reasoning is that Richardson's raw talent might not fit into what they're trying to build right now, and trading him could open up cap space and draft capital to accelerate their roster improvements. From the Steelers' perspective, the problem is that Richardson might not be the long-term answer for them at this stage. Pittsburgh needs someone who can be a franchise guy for the next decade, not just a project or a stopgap. That's why some analysts say that Richardson, despite his immense potential, might not be the right fit for the Steelers' core strategy moving forward. The team has made clear they want stability, consistency, and a quarterback who can grow with the team, something that, at least at this moment, Richardson is yet. But let's dive deeper into the context. Pittsburgh's current quarterback situation is a mix of hope and uncertainty. Kenny Pickett has shown promise, but he's still unproven at the NFL level. The team's coaching staff and front office are clearly invested in his development, but they're also aware that they need a backup plan, something to fall back on if Pickett doesn't take that leap into superstardom. That's where Rodgers comes in, providing a veteran presence and leadership, but even Rodgers himself has hinted that his time in Pittsburgh might be limited to just 1 or 2 seasons. So the question becomes, what's next? The NFL is a league that's always evolving, and teams are constantly looking for that edge. If Richardson's trade value remains high and the Colts are open to moving him, the Steelers might have an opportunity to pounce. A trade like this could give them a young, talented quarterback to develop, someone with the physical tools to be a future star. But at the same time, it's a gamble. Richardson's development is still uncertain, and trading draft capital or future assets for a project quarterback is always risky, especially when you're trying to contend in the present. Now, some might argue that the Steelers should stick with their plan of developing Pickett and waiting for the next draft class, which is supposedly deep in quarterback talent. But the NFL is a league where timing is everything. If they see Richardson's potential and believe they can mold him into a franchise quarterback, they might consider pulling the trigger. The key is whether they see enough in his tape, his athleticism, and his mental makeup to make that leap. And that's what makes this story so compelling, the possibility that the Steelers might be on the verge of making a bold, franchise-altering move. It's also worth mentioning the division implications. If the Steelers acquire Richardson and he hits his ceiling, it could set them up as the team to beat in the AFC North for years to come. Imagine a future where Richardson, with Pittsburgh's solid coaching staff and talented roster, becomes that franchise quarterback that fans have been waiting for since Roethlisberger's era ended. That would be a huge shakeup for rivals like Cincinnati and Baltimore, who are also investing heavily in their rosters to stay competitive. The AFC North has always been a tough division, but a dynamic quarterback like Richardson, in a Steelers uniform, could turn the tide and shift the division's power balance. Of course, all of this hinges on whether the Colts actually want to trade Richardson, and if Pittsburgh is willing to part with the assets needed to get him. The NFL offseason is full of surprises, and sometimes what seems like an unlikely trade can become a reality if both sides see mutual benefit. The Steelers have the draft capital, the cap space, and the motivation to make bold moves if they believe it'll pay off in the long run. And Richardson's talent makes him a tantalizing target, even if it's a high-risk, high-reward gamble. So, what does this all mean for Steelers fans? Well, it means that the team is actively exploring options to secure their future at quarterback, not just relying on hope and development. It signals that the franchise is aware of the window they have with Rodgers, but they're also thinking ahead, planning for that next chapter. Whether it's through drafting a quarterback, developing Pickett, or potentially swinging a trade for a player like Richardson, the Steelers are positioning themselves to stay competitive in a league that rewards bold decisions. And as fans, we should be excited. The NFL offseason is the time for big moves, for strategic gambles, and for dreaming about a brighter future. The idea that the Steelers might trade for Richardson isn't just a rumor. It's part of a larger conversation about where this team is heading and what it takes to get back to the Super Bowl. Remember, Pittsburgh has a rich history of making smart, sometimes bold, moves that pay dividends down the line. From the days of Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger to the current roster, the franchise has always been about resilience, smart planning, and taking chances when it counts. Now we wait and see how the offseason unfolds. Will the Colts really trade Richardson? Is Pittsburgh willing to make that bold leap? Time will tell, but one thing is for sure. The next few months will be critical for the Steelers' future, and we as fans need to stay tuned because big things are on the horizon. The AFC North is about to get even more interesting, and the Steelers are right in the middle of it, shaping their destiny for years to come. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YOUTUBE algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you believe the Steelers should make a bold move and trade for Richardson? Or do you think they should stick with developing Pickett and wait for that next draft class? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. This is what makes our community so special, sharing insights, predictions, and passion for the team we all love. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. We're in an exciting phase, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this franchise. Thanks for being part of this journey, and as always, go Steelers!